goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Content, to my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Carousel horses can't talk. This is bullshit.
You're coming right out of the gate negative, man. Coming right out of the gate negative.
This isn't realistic. Okay?
This isn't real life. This isn't real life. Okay? Like, carousel horses should not be talking. They should be on carousels. I don't know why a fanboy would sound like that, but it does. Welcome. We're episode stupid. We're episode 223, and this is kind of coming out like right at the beginning of our spooky season, like our real spooky season, like October time, and that's because of the fact that we took a little bit of a kind of a little 2-week hiatus because it's kind of hard on me to edit all these. Like I'm going to be 100% honest with you all, because I love every one of you who listens to this show. But it's tough when you've got 4 kids and you've got 2 jobs and you have to find time to edit this stuff too.
Well, don't forget every 10 minutes I go on a tirade about Mr. Clean you have to edit out.
I actually keep those in. I keep those all in.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, I keep those all in. But yeah, so if you're wondering like what's happening, are they leaving? No, we're not leaving. It's just called life, man. So we're here. We're not going anywhere. We've got all the fun stuff. And speaking of fun stuff, we've got a fun independent film that we're reviewing today. And this is one that we've known about for a while. We had Steve Rudzinski on. I think we had him on right when he was doing funding for this, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 3 months and 3 years ago. I can't tell.
Yeah. It was in the blend. It's blended together. But we had him on to talk about CarousHELL, and he was just gearing up to do a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, one of the two, for this film, CarousHELL 2, and it got funded. It was great because we obviously were conflicted about CarousHELL 1 in our interview. In our review, if you go back catalog, we kind of were like, it's good, but there's problems.
It got funded. Where the fuck did the money go?
Hey now.
What? I'm dead serious. I don't know.
It got funded because here's the thing. The concept of it is ridiculously awesome. It's ridiculously awesome. I mean, that's the thing. A killer unicorn horse. That right there is a concept. Just like a killer Thanksgiving turkey. Or a nerd who gets doused in toxic waste.
Or a velociraptor.
It's the same sort of thing. It fits actually pretty well with the episode that's currently out right now. And I say that because we're recording this on the 21st of September. So that means that it's already out now. By the time this gets dropped, you'll probably have our Mel Brooks episode out before then. But at the time we're recording this, we dropped an episode on why we love B movies, and it actually kind of fits well because I was listening to that on the way to work today, because I always listen to our episodes after we drop them, and because I got to get at least one download on our charts from B.
Got one.
Yeah, I got one, and it's me. Okay, so I was listening to it. I'm like, man, this is pretty much CarousHELL. To a T and what we were talking about. So that's the reason why it got funding, is it has a dedicated fan base. Steve Rudzinski's sense of humor, love it or hate it, is his sense of humor. And it definitely, it has a tone to it, and I think people do gravitate toward it. I also speak to that, and I'll be completely honest with you, I speak to that with a little bit of bias because I am friends with him. So I know I've known Steve for a number of years. He's a great guy. He's fucking hilarious. And the man is also Spider-Man. So, I mean, there is that.
Yes, he cosplays as Spider-Man. In case you're wondering, dear audience, what the fuck Brian's talking about.
No. I mean, if they know Steve Rudzinski, they know the man actually is he is a Marvel character cosplayer. Like, he actually gets paid by Marvel to cosplay as Spider-Man.
Does he jizz webs?
Jizz webs.
His spider sense is tingling.
Oh, it probably is. So yeah, Carousel 2, the movie that he actually said he was not planning to make, got funded. This is the movie that happened. And actually it was filmed during the pandemic. It was filmed at a time when most of us were not filming stuff. I know I was not filming anything. I was writing a script, but Steve went out there, kept it safe, was able to put this film together. So, there is something for that. So this movie, I want to first kind of come out of the gate and say that I want people to watch this movie, Yeah, I do.
Okay.
You're an asshole.
The other end of this podcast
you're in asshole mode tonight, man. So no, I want people to watch this movie because of the fact that here's the thing. We're going to be talking about things that we like about it, things that we don't like about it, things that we wish were done. But ultimately, I want people to go watch this movie and decide for themselves whether they like it or not. Independent films always have a very tall order to try to fill. Okay, I think you can agree with that, John, right? Can you agree with that?
Oh yeah. Well, technically speaking, any film that's completed deserves a round of applause because every film production, I don't care if you're Stevie Spielberg or down to the lowest guy in the totem pole, it's a nightmare, to pull off. So that deserves credit in and of itself.
But especially indie films, in kind of a very saturated market amongst a bunch of other stuff coming out. I think it's very hard for indie films to kind of break through the noise, so to speak, to really find an audience. So either way, whether you like this review or not, go watch the movie. It's on I think it's on Amazon Prime. But it's out there to watch. Take a look at it and kind of decide for yourselves. Again, I like aspects of this film, and there are parts of it that I wish could be worked on a bit more, and we'll get to that. Just kind of first thoughts on this. John, what were kind of your first thoughts of Carousel the second after watching it?
Do you really want me to say?
I mean, yeah. I mean, here's the thing, and I've told Steve this, that I think we can be honest about things that we liked and things that we didn't like. I don't want it to be like, this movie is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I went Cartman there for a minute there, but I did. But I think you need to be honest about our review, and he understands that. And honestly, that's if he doesn't like the review, he doesn't like the review. But we're also going to be very honest about our review and say what should be worked on if he makes it through, which I think he will.
Well, there has been two words while I was watching it, after I watched it, and all day today that have been coming to my mind, and that's embarrassingly incompetent.
Oh, damn, man. Wow.
There is nothing about this film that is a success. The acting is terrible. The effects are god awful. The premise is ludicrous and far fetched. The plot is non-existent. If you took out the jokes, there's about 20 minutes of context in this, or 20 minutes of story.
Really? Yeah. Why? Okay, so I guess my question, to play devil's advocate here, do you think this would be better served as kind of a web series rather than a movie?
I think it would be better suited as a short. I feel that like the whole novelty of an evil carousel horse, like that's hilarious for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it's over. Not 77 minutes and a sequel, nonetheless.
Yeah. I could see that. I think for me though, when I watched this, there were clearly issues when it came to form, and clearly issues when it came to cinematography and editing. I think that was the biggest things I noticed. I think he has a story there, and I get the concept. And I was telling you this kind of before we started. I had to kind of not look at this from the kind of normal lens that I would look at any movie. Okay. I had to almost look at this through, and it kind of is very fitting, through kind of the lens of a B film. And I think that is what people are attracted to by this film. They're attracted to the concept of a killer unicorn horse. Now, are there issues with story? Yes. Are there issues with acting? I really do think so. Technical issues, absolutely. But we look at a movie like Birdemic, and it has a lot of the same problems, but people love it.
Yeah, but they love it for all the wrong reasons, for everything, the terrible acting, the terrible effects, the horrible sound, so it's, you don't want your movie compared to Birdemic,
True.
Yeah.
True. But I don't know. I think it's unfair to say that there's really like no redeeming qualities in this. Just because of the fact that I think the concept, I think some of the sequences by themselves can be redeemable. But I think the biggest thing I could give advice to is form. Like for me at least, that's kind of what I felt was the biggest issue, was just the form and how things were shot, how things were cut together. And I think that maybe, and I don't know what the timeline was for getting Carousel 2 out, but I think if there was maybe another 3 to 6 months to work on this, that it would resolve some of these problems. Did you notice any specific problems when it came to the form that you wanted to comment on?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are some things that it wouldn't have mattered about time that were mistakes. There was a flashback to Nazi Germany when the camera was focused up at the ceiling and there was fluorescent light tubes in the ceiling. And the Nazi flag that I do not want to know where they ordered that from.
Yeah, I really don't want to know where they ordered that from.
But they clearly took it out of the package after it had been folded 96 times and did not iron it and just hung it up. And it's pleated everywhere because anybody who knows, they clearly took it out of the package and hung it up. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm too picky, but it's a lot of shit like that can completely take me out of a movie. As you mentioned, there's a scene where it cuts to Robbie, which is Duke, the carousel horse's like half-breed son, and the color is all off. It's completely, it must have been like a pickup shot, and it doesn't match at all.
But the form of this, when we're talking about form, we're generally speaking about kind of how the film is itself constructed, how it's shot, how the sound is put together, how it's edited. That is where I find the most problems with. I don't really think the story is as horrible if you kind of just take a step back and kind of look at this for what it is. I really do think that this is in the vein of a trauma film. So if it's in the vein of an over-the-top, ridiculous concept, then the story really is unfortunately, and it's, you could say this is a negative or a positive, it really is in service of whatever the concept is. And the concept of this film is really that we've got a killer unicorn horse and we're finding out more information about the killer unicorn horse. Like, that's kind of the problem. We'd look at, Toxic Avenger, and it's also got a ridiculous concept. I couldn't tell you necessarily, and I've seen Toxie like 1,000 times. I couldn't tell you what the story is. I couldn't, because I can tell you exactly what happens. And Melvin, I think it's Melvin White, he falls into some toxic waste in Jersey and ends up becoming the Toxic Avenger and basically cleans house of all the corruption. But I don't know blow by blow every single person. Okay, I don't know every single event that happens. And that is honestly because the concept is the bigger thing, not necessarily the story. I think the story is secondary to the concept in this. And I think that's the thing, is that if you take a step back and you look at it from that point of view, then really it's, okay, does what I'm seeing on camera support the concept? So if that's the case, for me, I think the fact that I didn't see a digital unicorn moving across the screen this time was good. I think that was one of the things I said, hey, improve on this. And the last thing was show more things like POVs and show, actually the arms of the unicorn. That's something that's a positive. I really like the animatronic, even though it's ridiculous. I like how they played into it. How, because he's a half-breed, he can move around a little bit. It's again, a ridiculous concept, but it's explained in the story.
And I do want to discuss that, but I do think that it's dangerous when you have an outrageous premise for a movie that I feel that you can hide behind that quite a bit, and like, oh, that didn't quite work, or the audio wasn't right there, or these two shots don't match. It's like, oh, but it's supposed to be crazy and goofy and just have fun with it. I don't think that should be used as a crutch.
I don't think it's a crutch. I think it's the style. Like, the man, he has made films in the past, and that's what I'm saying. Like, at some point, we have to look at these and say, this is Steve's style. He made a series of movies that were about talking cats. Okay, he made and they've been successful. Okay, he had a series of movies.
Kittens. Yeah,
what was that?
People love kittens.
No, but I'm being honest. Like, that has kind of been Steve's MO, and I'm speaking of this as not only just a friend, but also someone who has really seen kind of his work. Do I think that maybe he can kind of dial back a little bit? Yeah, I do. I one of his best films, and I've said this before, I've said this to him. I love his film Captain Z. I also know that he didn't completely write that. I know that he directed that. But I also love his movie Everyone Must Die, and that was one that he absolutely did direct and write. So I know he is extremely talented. But I do think that sometimes the concept does get in the way a little bit. I think maybe going into Carousel 3, and I might be wrong. I might, obviously, I think we're kind of in the minor on this one. From reviews I've seen of this, everyone seems to love it. So we're just the assholes in the room. Sorry, but
me a lot more. Yeah,
but you a lot more. I'm trying to look at both sides to this. I'm trying to be fair. And really, like, I do think that the concept sometimes does get in the way. So I think pulling back a little bit and kind of really saying, all right, we've got this ridiculous concept, but how does that fit in logically with the story, right? Some things about form that I want to point out, things that I had issues with, and the things that I notice. I noticed that we crossed the 180 line like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
In this movie. And it is something that it does get distracting over
you mean
time.
When two people are having a conversation, they're both looking in the same direction?
People who aren't film people might not understand this, but the 180-degree line is this imaginary line in which basically what it's designed to do is, in essence, lay out the geography of a scene. Okay, it's where are people placed at? And there were a number of times where we kind of jumped between different things, and certain people ended up in the same spot, and it did kind of become confusing while watching it. Yeah. That is something... Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead, dude.
Yeah. Audience, imagine like there are two people in chairs sitting, looking right at each other, and you're looking at a camera, and they're completely, profile to each other. If you move that camera to look at the faces, you have to do it on the same shoulder. Yeah. So if you're shooting on the right shoulder, you have to shoot on both of their, right shoulder for the one, left shoulder on the other. You can't go all the way around to the other side, because what's going to happen is they're both going to be looking in the same direction. It's going to look like they're both looking at something off screen and not looking at each other. Yeah.
So that's an issue that I had a lot with this film. It's just things like that, things that are on the cinematography side should have been dealt with. There should have been a thinking of, okay, well, is this the right angle? Okay. I also feel the editing should have barely been dialed in more, because I don't think the editing was served in this. I don't know why we have constant black points between scenes.
I have a theory on that. Like,
what's your theory?
I think Steve, like a lot of people looked up, what is the minimum that most production company or distributors will say is a feature-length film? And he probably saw the one that said like 77 minutes. And so there are some things that are just overly extended, so he reached that time limit.
I disagree with that. I don't think that's the case. I think it's honestly just a matter of, it was easier to add these things to scenes, and maybe it was kind of difficult to try to figure out how to join them together.
Because I feel like you could cut 25 minutes out of this movie, but that's going to make it a short, and not the short that any film festival wants. They want shorts that are like 5-10 minutes.
I don't think
features that are 70 and on.
I don't believe this is designed to go into film festivals. I think this went direct to distribution, and direct distribution was self-distributed, because Steve, he was working with another distributor for first Carousel, and I think with this one he opted to go self. Mm-hmm. But I think that you can, and this is kind of where I say that spending more time in post would have helped this film. I really believe that. Now, that's not to say that you can fix everything. What was that?
Sorry. Do you know what I think the biggest issue was here in post-production?
What was that?
Is that I think that I saw a lot of times where you saw one person talking. Let's just say it's Duke and did Duke rape this woman? By the way, is that how they had a kid? Or
yes.
Okay.
Well,
so,
no, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either. But it's possibly the product of rape. And they're having a conversation back and forth. And what Steve must have done is he just put the clips in trimmer, cut them down, and then just put them together one by one, and didn't check to see if the flow of the conversation actually seemed normal and had a good rhythm to it. Because like Duke will say something and then it'll cut to the lady and there'll be 3 seconds of silence and then she'll respond and it'll cut back to Duke and there's 2 seconds. It's not a real conversation.
Well, that's
the whole
that's
movie.
what I'm saying is it's a lot of this is missing things like L and J cuts. That's what you're talking about. You're talking in essence about the and then people aren't going to know what this is. Some people aren't going to know, so let me explain it. So L and J cuts, when you see a conversation happening in a film, generally the audio or video from one clip may bleed over to the other. So if John and I are having a conversation, we're having 2 cameras going back and forth, you're not going to just get my line and then we cut back to John's line. Okay, typically what's going to happen is my line is going to maybe end a little early. You're actually going to see my cut end a little early visually, but my audio is going to keep going underneath, and it's going to make this illusion that our conversation is more natural. And that's kind of what you're talking about, John. So
you are going to go bang, 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 the thing is, if Duke says, "Oh no, I failed as a father," she needs to immediately come back with, "Oh well, you're new to this." In the way it sounds is, "I failed as a father." Pause. You're new to this. It should be, "I failed as a father." Oh, but you're new to this. Like bang, bang. You know, there's no flow. Like even if you don't have it, audio bleeding into the next shot. But.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I that's one of the things that, again, if they spent more time on editing this, I think they could fix that. Would it fix everything? No, I don't think it would fix everything, but it would go a long way. I really do. I really think that editing and working in post would go a long way in this. Now, did you find anything redeemable about this film, John? Are you going to sit there and be like, "No, it's terrible. Don't watch it"?
There was there was nothing for me because I think that the only thing that is really redeemable about this movie is if you think like Steve's sense of humor is funny. And I'm not going to say his sense of humor. I'm going to say his sense of humor that he brought to this movie, because I don't know him personally. Like I'm not going to say his entire sense of humor, but what he brought to this movie, I didn't really find it funny, because for me, comedy it has to literally be perfection in terms of your production for jokes to land. And if there is problems with your cinematography, with your editing, with your sound, I'm not going to find jokes funny because I'm not in it in order to find that funny.
Yeah. And I mean, you really, more than me, kind of have a mastery of comedy, so I'll take your word at that. I'll take your word at that. Yeah. But at the same time, some things that I found redeemable about this, because I don't want this to just be a trash carousel the second episode, and I don't intend it to be. Some things I found redeemable. I did like some of the Nazi characters in this, which is funny to say, terrible to say, but still kind of funny. The character, what was his name? Klaus, the one with all the different outfits. What'd you think of him?
Wait, was that the one that looked like Stephen Fry from like the Ricky Gervais stuff?
Yeah,
the glasses and stuff. Was he the one
that was
horse
Otto.
fucked? Oh,
that was Otto. Yeah, Otto. Otto was the
hot dog guy and the balloon guy.
Yeah.
I thought that went on like way too long each scene, because I think Steve really liked that guy's improving or line delivery. But Yeah, I mean, he was giving it his all. I'll give that to that actor. Like he really seemed to enjoy what he was doing.
Mark McConnell Jr. Yeah, I found him to be very funny. I think that the whole purpose of that shtick, and that's really what it is just to kind of be almost kind of annoying after a while. Like we got 3 different things where the person in the costume says, "Well, let me give you my long story," and I think that's done on purpose. That's again, if you know Steve's style of humor, you'll get it. We're basically supposed to be thinking the same thing that Duke's thinking. Like, why is this guy going on and on again? So I get that. And I found his performance to be funny. I found he really was giving everything. I did like the character Otto, and part of that is because, the scene that I was dying at, which I'm sorry, I found this part to be hilarious. The horse fucking scene.
Yeah. Well,
just because it takes the whole concept that we had thought was going to happen from the first movie and kind of goes the opposite end of the spectrum on it.
Well, I don't mean to be a complete pervert, but I don't know why the guy was too insecure to take his underpants off, because how are they fucking if he's in underpants the entire time?
Maybe he slipped it out.
Because I say, he's mostly giving it to Duke, and he's in his underpants. Like, come on, guy, go bare ass.
Listen, this was shot during COVID. You had to be careful. He had to mask up the genitals, okay?
Look, I'm just saying, if Steve had cast me and I had to fuck the goddamn...
Oh, I know.
I'd be bare ass.
I can guarantee you're not going to get cast now because of your review, dude.
I would wear the dick cloth. You know, the thing.
Oh, you'd have a merkin.
Oh yeah, well no, merkin's the fake pube.
Oh, okay.
I like a lot of
the
times.
Dick sock.
Yeah, you just cover your dick and balls for modesty on set, and also that you're not bumping against a woman or man when you're faking a sex scene. At least there's some kind of protection between that. So they can see bare ass, but your genitals are covered.
Oh, I don't think Tommy Wiseau got that.
No,
that's all him. That's
or
all
Neil
him
Breen. Neil Breen's
Breen.
beautiful coin purse.
No, his beautiful coin purse. Oh yeah, but that scene, I got to say, I was cracking up during that. I found that to be hilarious.
I do like that Duke is open enough to go both ways.
Yeah. Well, and it just kind of it threw in kind of another gotcha, because it'd be very easy to just kind of repeat that with someone else. Repeat what he had done with the first film and have him have sex with another woman. But it's like no, we're gonna throw a spin on it and say that there was some sort of love that happened between him and Otto when he was human. So that part I thought was hilarious.
Well, see, what I would have liked is that, obviously it was done almost like a Team America thing where we just got, different clips of thrusting and stuff. I wish that it was actually dealt like a serious romantic scene, really, really intimate, two lovers on their anniversary night. Just make it as uncomfortable as possible, just looking deep into each other's eyes as they slowly grind.
Kind of like Naked Gun.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like Naked Gun when Frank has sex with Lisa Marie Presley, and it's got all the weird shit that happens with it, but it's played off like a pure romantic thing, like when they're in condom suits.
Yes,
that sort of
gotta
thing.
practice safe sex.
You gotta practice safe sex. So there are moments in this that yes are I found them to be funny. Okay, I found them to be funny. But I mean, one thing I do think was interesting that was lacking from this is the amount of gore. Didn't you think so?
Yeah, I mean, you do get it quite a bit at the end of the movie. It's almost
at the end, yeah.
It reminds me in a bizarre way of The Dark Knight Rises, where there's only 1 or 2 action scenes in a nearly 3-hour movie, but then the last 45 fucking minutes of that movie is just nonstop action.
Yeah.
So it's kind of okay,
so we spent 2 hours in a pit, so I guess we gotta hit you with the gigantic in Pittsburgh, fighting scene, which that was filmed here.
Where's the trigger?
Where's the trigger? Jens don't got a trigger.
To an ordinary citizen. Yeah, but it's when you get because the only big gore scene I remember is he just kills a lady in the park, putting shears through her eyeballs.
That part I thought that was good. I thought it was funny.
So yeah, obviously he needed to bring it at the end where you're ripping heads apart and stuff. But Okay, I'm just going to say this. We need more variety on the Nazi jokes. You can't just do 37 different parodies of Right with Reich.
Yeah, that part I wasn't a fan of.
Yeah.
That part I wasn't a fan of. That part I was like, okay, you said it 3 times. You don't need to say it anymore. And I get it. Again, it's all through kind of Steve's sense of humor. Like, that's kind of the thing. When you're watching a movie like this, you're getting that sense of humor. So I understand why it's in there. But yes, I did feel that the Nazi, rips were kind of repetitive.
I got one.
What? What do you got?
One guy. He could be like ready to rip his head off, and he could say, "You expect me to talk?" And then Duke could have said, "No, you're not the man I've come to see." And then rip his head.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You expect to talk? No, I expect you to die. I mean, that's from Bond, but yeah. So the gore amount in this is a little bit less compared to CarousHEL. But when it does happen, I mean, the effects he has are actually pretty decent. I gotta admit that he's put some time into using practical, which I thought was fine. I think you could have melded in a little bit of CGI. I know that's blasphemy. I know that some purists will say, "Fuck that guy."
No,
yeah,
no, I'm with you, Ren. There, you need to have almost what I call like a Buddhist like center point about practical and digital effects. What are the 2 of the most amazing movies in that sense that still hold up to this day, even though they're over 25 years old? Jurassic Park and Terminator 2, because they use natural effects and digital effects. Imagine that, bringing a union of the 2 together. Wow.
No, but what I'm saying is in the horror community, especially, basically it's kind of, a lot of people kind of poo-poo the digital effects. I'm of the mind that you have to do both. I'm of the mind that you do what you can with practical, because practical has a limit. It does. I'm sorry, it does.
Yeah,
we all wish we could go back.
Yeah,
What was
an
that?
amazing movie. Jason and the Argonauts was an amazing triumph.
Yep.
But if you are looking at it in terms of realism, it looks like shit.
It does. Don't get me wrong. I like to see Harry Hamlin and what the fuck who did it? Who all the effects? Ray Harryhausen. Okay, Harryhausen did all the effects in that movie. But it is garbage. Okay, I'm sorry, it is. But yeah, for the time it was good. But things have gotten better now. So I think that there's something to be said for kind of using the best of both. Okay. Maybe you kind of have a little digital blood where like the scissors get impacted in someone's eye, and then you cut to, I don't know, the practical, things like that. Maybe you start off with maybe a little bit of digital, face melting, that sort of thing, or maybe the eyes kind of turn green or something like that, and then you cut to the practical. So it's using both. That being said, I mean, if you're trying to make a pure kind of ridiculous balls to the wall type comedic horror film, yeah, you're going to throw in some over the top gore and stuff. But I don't know. For me, I think that there is enough you can do digitally to offset some of the kitsch that you get from practical. It helps. It doesn't take it away. Doesn't replace it. It just helps it.
Well, I mean, also maybe tell your actress that if she has garden shears going through her eyes, to maybe go more than, like, go ahead and sell it.
You are brutal today.
Look, I know a lot of these people aren't professional actors, but there's a lot of cringeworthy performances in here. But I will say, and not just because they. God, I'm sorry out there, folks. I'm bad at that. They are a good friend of mine. Azrael Barnaby did the voice of Robbie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they fucking nailed it, because I did really like that performance of Robbie. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, that voice sounds very familiar. So.
Yeah, no, I really liked Robbie's character. I thought that it was fine, and I thought it was an interesting thing, because I was wondering how they're going to play it. I was like, because Duke is clearly a homicidal maniac, like he's clearly got some issues, he murdered a whole party last time and impregnated a woman with a unicorn. So I was kind of curious, how are they going to play off Robbie? And Robbie comes out as the polar opposite of Duke.
Yeah.
And it does work well. I think it does work. I do like, and I mentioned this before, I do like the practical with him. Just because they could have easily gone with another unicorn and instead decided to play into it.
Horse. Yeah. But no, I think the effects I wonder if that's where most of the budget went. That and the gore at the end, because that's actually pretty neat. The way they did Robbie up,
Yeah.
The ears move, the eyes move, the mouth moves,
And honestly, I wasn't really taken aback when the mouth didn't line up. Like that sort of thing didn't really throw me off because, again, I think when you get that deep into it, you're pretty much buying that we're having animate objects talking.
You're already looking at an abomination of God.
Jeez.
It's all right.
I mean,
let the lips.
The fact Robbie's not saying "kill me."
Kill me.
But no, I thought Robbie was a highlight of the film. I wish we would have had more of him. I love the scene, and it's just because it is kind of a mockery of the total father-son type scenes that you see in movies, where you do have a little bit of a montage where it's Robbie hanging out with his dad, and they're playing cards and all sorts of ridiculous. And that's where the scissors in the eye thing happens, because clearly we have to show that Duke still will kill people.
Yeah.
So I like that section. I thought that part was good. I think overall, the biggest thing I need to say about this movie is there are aspects of it that at least for me, I enjoyed, but there's also a lot of aspects that I think really could have been improved. Okay. And I hope get improved when there's a third one. Because I do hope there's a third one, because I'm kind of now interested in kind of finding out more about the story after watching it.
Well, no spoilers here, but
no spoilers.
The door is open for a CarousHELL extended universe. Yes.
The door's open. I mean, they had a Meowie universe. Might as well do a third one of these. But yeah, the door has been basically left open in this film for a third one. I hope they make it. I doubt we get a copy to watch next time. But that's cool. That's cool. I'm fine with that.
Hey, if Steve wants you to review the next one and says, don't bring that asshole on, just bring a guest on. I'll send
No, because we got to play good cop, bad cop, man. That's how it works, okay? Plus, I've already said my biases that I'm friends with him, so there's that. But at the same time, I do want to kind of approach this from not necessarily this is terrible, don't see this movie, to, yeah, go see this movie and make up the decision for yourself. My whole thing in this is kind of looking at it kind of the same way that I deal with my students, and that is saying these are some things that you kind of need to work on. So just, with this movie, it's got a premise that is entertaining. At least I found that the premise was entertaining. It needs work in I think, directing actors, and it could just be a matter of getting the right actors, getting professionals if possible. I think cinematography and editing need to have more attention. The thing is I know that Steve can make a film. I've seen him make good films. I just think that more attention needs to be paid to how are you shooting this thing? How are you lighting this thing? How are you painting with light? How are you making the scene work? And ultimately, how are you compiling this together into a cohesive film? It is tough. I'm not going to lie and say that's easy. These are not easy suggestions. These are hard suggestions. But it's one of those things that I think has to have more attention paid to it.
I would just say slow down. Slow down on everything. Slow down on the script writing. If you're self-distributing this, if you only have 45 pages worth of a story, that's what you got. With your casting, make sure you're actually casting people that can deliver your lines. Make sure that you have all the money in place, that you have enough money to pull it off, that you've done enough pre-production, that you're getting the shots you need on set, and you have the crew and cast that are willing to sit there until you get it right. Just slow down.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. I think part of it is that with the Meowie films especially, those are pretty much just done on the shoest strings of budgets. You know, like it was done pretty much just like run them through, get them cut together, and get them out the door. And because of the fact the concept was, you know, talking cats, it works. And he's even said, like, those are successful films. And I don't discount that. Shit, if I try to make a cat movie, I know it wouldn't get a single person to watch it.
I think they're successful because Santa's fucking sexy.
I was only Santa in one of those films.
That's the one I'm talking about.
I was only Santa in the first one. I wish he would have let me like dye my beard or something, because I would have done that. But yeah, so you know, I think that if you're coming from that and now going into a much more in-depth film, I think that there could be, as you said, just slowing down and kind of let's take each scene and kind of really try to flesh it out into what it needs to be to progress the story along. You know, I wrote a feature-length script over the pandemic, and I haven't made it yet. Why? Because it's not ready yet. Because I feel that I need to take time to get it right. And that's, again, I don't know how Steve kind of came about this. I know that him and his co-writing partner and I believe wife, Elaine, basically wrote this together. But I don't know how much time it took. I don't have the particulars on that. But I do think that production-wise and post-production-wise, that to shoot something in March and then get it out the door in September, it doesn't give you a lot of time to really fine-tune. Okay, especially feature. But again, it's not my film. I'm just a critic. Yeah. The dirty word critic.
Toi.
No. But I really do want to tell people, like, go watch this movie. Okay, I don't say that about a lot of films. And yeah, you could say, well, Brian's biased because his friend. I am. I'll be the first to say it. I am. Everyone has bias. I don't believe that everyone can be unbiased. It's bullshit. It's not true. I want this film to be successful for Steve because he's a friend of mine, and I want more people to see independent films and be exposed to independent films. But if you're someone who's like going to be turned off by the concept and turned off by filmmaking that I think could use an extra 3 to 6 months in development, you're not going to like this. Okay. But if you're someone
if you're not into these kind of exploitation.
If you're not into, again, I kind of view this through the lens of more or less a trauma film. If you're not into that sort of thing, you're not going to like this. But if you are into that sort of thing, if you do have an appreciation for that, you will find that this is an extremely original idea that I really just think needed more time for development and more time for production and more time for post. And I hope that when we go into the third film, if there is a third film, that some of these lessons are kind of taken into account. I mean, but ultimately he could just say, you know, fuck those guys. I'll do whatever I want. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can tell me to fuck myself. I don't care. So.
Yeah. I feel I'm a little bit, different on that end than you, Brian. And like, absolutely nothing against Steve. I appreciate any independent filmmaker, and I want him to succeed because I do know him, and he's a good guy. Like, so it's nothing against him personally, but I would say, unless you really like outrageous, lowest of low budget kind of exploitation movies, I would say skip this one. But I would say that if you are a first or second year film student, this is good to watch, and I would take notes and say, when the horse is spitting out water, you can clearly see that it's not coming out of its mouth, and you can see it dripping below. Just take notes of mistakes that are made so that maybe you won't make them when you're in that same saddle.
Yeah, you're playing bad cop today.
I don't think that was too terrible. I mean,
no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm
It's hard because we know him. If this is Steve from Portland, I would have been much more vicious.
No. Whenever we have had indie filmmakers give us stuff, I think we've tried to err on the side of not trashing them. That's kind of been our modus operandi, is to always try to give people educate people about the film that we're watching, but then also give our honest opinion. Because the truth of the matter is that, and I told Steve this, I said, we're going to be honest. We're going to tell you whether we like it or not, and we're going to give you reasons why. We're not going to just say it's the greatest film of all time, go watch it, because it's not us. And I don't think anyone would respect our opinions if we did that. So do I like this film? Yeah, I like the concept and I like elements of it. But I really do think that more time needed to be spent on production and more time needed to be spent on editing to really fine tune this. And yeah, definitely on screenwriting too. I think there needed to be more development time to get this to a point where it rises above just concept. I think that's kind of what we're talking about, John, is elevating this beyond just killer unicorn horse or carousel horse.
Because I'm sure
that's
when
the
you're
thing.
sitting around a room and you're pitching ideas for this, everybody's laughing their ass off, right? Because it's just ideas at that point. You don't have to actually make it, and that can be intoxicating. But you also then you have to make sure you do the pre-production, that you got the money and you got the crew and got the cast to pull it off.
Well, I kind of almost think of it in the same way that, like, have you ever seen the the 7 Days to Air documentary on South Park?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So same sort of concept, right? They sit around on day one and just kind of throw ridiculous things out on a whiteboard. And from that, they are able to pull together what the story is going to be. They're somehow able to weave that together into a story that's not just, oh yes, let's rip on the whole Apple products with the human centipede. But let's see, how can we make this, kind of fit with the characters and fit with the stories that we already have kind of derived up for that season. So it is more than just the concept. And I do think that is something that I hope for the third film is kind of pay attention to, is how can you take what you've built so far, what you've made with these characters, and elevate them beyond just the concept of a killer carousel horse. Like, that's, I think, the thing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, go check out Carousel the Second. Again, I'll tell you to go watch it.
Hey, can I say something positive here?
Yes.
I would like to say something positive. It takes a lot of balls to not only make a film, to put yourself out there, but to make a feature film. And Brian and I, we are filmmakers too, so we're not just critics. But it's very easy for critics to sit back and point out every single thing that you did wrong if they've never actually. Not that critics are necessarily want to make films, they may just be critics, but to sit back and just say everything they did wrong without ever trying anything yourself, it takes a lot of fucking guts to put yourself out there and to try to make something come to fruition and come to life. So I will always be in admiration of anybody that does that, Steve or anybody else. So I mean, it took a lot of balls to make this movie, to put this movie out, and so that I do admire quite a bit.
Yeah, I think anyone who puts together a film, puts it out there, and says, "Here's my work, go ahead and watch it," and then on top of that, gives it to assholes like us, and says, "Hey, by the way, can you review this?" Although I was the one who said, "Hey, can I review your film?" Because I really did want to watch it. I really did want to review it. And he said, "Sure." But I do think that to do that, that does take some balls. So I commend him for that. To watch this film, go to Silver Spotlight Films. Go to Steve Buster's stevebuster.com. That's Steve's streaming platform that he has. I was wrong. He isn't using Amazon Prime. And you can also buy the copy of Carousel the Second, as well as the original Carousel there as well. So I'll put a link to it kind of in our show notes for this. But to close this out, go watch the film, decide for yourself. As I said, you kind of have to go into it knowing what it is. If you're going to it knowing what it is, you're going to have a good time. If you go into expecting something else, you might not.
Casablanca, but with carousel horses.
Yeah, could be. Good good. Good talk. Good talk. Yeah. I have a feeling we're not getting any more of Steve's films after this one. He's gonna be like, "Fuck those guys."
Maybe you, man. Maybe you.
No, he'll say it to me. Yeah, or he'll just say, "Your co-host is an asshole." I'll be like, "Yeah, he kind of is." That's why I keep him around. But okay, good talk. John, where can they find you at on the social medias?
Unreal J Wools, please tweet at me. I don't tweet often, but I will tweet you back as long as it's positive and not full of like racist stuff or sexist stuff. You know, I feel weird. But
did you have that?
No, but in society anymore, you never know.
Well, I was gonna say, did someone say that to you? Did someone attack you?
I mean, I'm a wasp, white, heterosexual young man. Nobody has anything to throw at me. But
wow,
also,
very proud of that, aren't you?
No, not proud of that. Just proud of the privilege.
And you didn't like the Nazis in this one. I see it now.
I didn't care. I don't care for Nazis. I don't know who's going to be mad at me for that one. I'm going to put that out there. But also, but at JDubs Video Nasties on YouTube. Hey, even if you like this podcast, but you maybe it's not your a cup of tea for the most part.
They don't like me. If they don't like me, they can go watch you.
Yeah. But no, just hitting subscribe helps. I can't tell you how immensely. So,
do you have anything new coming out?
Oh yeah. Let's see. I have there is an author who's written tons of awesome books on horror movies, like in their productions. His name is Dustin McNeil. And I broke it into 3 15-minute episodes where he talks about the nightmare of getting Freddy versus Jason to the screen. The next one was getting Halloween, the original Halloween, to the screen, and then the second one, or the second Halloween, but the third one and final here is every pitched Halloween movie that never was.
Oh wow. Wow, yeah. So there were others.
Oh, I think there was 50 to 100 pitches that never got off the ground, or they started pre-production and stopped almost immediately, or got almost to filming and stopped.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, with that said, you could find me at Brian Connaughton. I also run the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Psycho Show. Be sure to also check out our YouTube-centric show From the Concession Stand. I haven't put out an episode in a while, but I do have 2 that are in the can that I have to cut together. Yeah, I'll be putting those out fairly soon, hopefully. So check that out on YouTube at the Psycho Show page. You can also find us on the Epicast Network, epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or if you really love Carousel and the second and you want to hit us with some negative feedback and tell us that we're all fucking idiots, you could contact us. I say that because there's a fine line between anger and love. Contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. And be sure to subscribe or follow us wherever you listen to audio, and we will see you next time.
Forget the horse, Steve. Next time, I want to see a carousel bench.
Okay.